You know, science fiction games are not really my cup of tea too much. They have to be really, really good. But when a friend of mine introduced me to Interface Zero, I thought, okay, this might be worth it. The Kickstarter project came, it got an awful lot of money, and eventually I got not one, but 2 books. However, having said that, are the contents of the books worth the amount of money that I had to pay to get my hands on them? Welcome to the GMS Magazine review videos. The only difference between these 2 books is the cover. One of them is by Aaron Acevedo and the other one is by the wonderful Jeff Easley. Other than that, they're pretty much identical, but that's what happens when you get enough money to make a really cool stretch goal in Kickstarter. So I'm just going to take a look at one of the 2 books. Firstly, the book itself is incredibly well made. Very, very cool cover in terms of the artwork and also how hard it is, and every little detail has been paid attention to within the book itself in terms of the artwork, the amount of artwork that goes inside, and the layout. Everything has been taken care of, which is fantastic. And there is a lot of information in here. The game doesn't come with the rules for Savage Worlds, you have to have that separately, but it's all being geared out and description and changes for anything that's to do with what doesn't work with the standard rules and need to be adapted to this cyberpunk setting has been provided, so you are okay. In Welcome to the Future, the whole thing is just beautiful. Every section and chapter of the book has been marked in here by the correct icons. And there's one thing that I absolutely loved all over the book. If you take a look, every few paragraphs, you get a few different fonts in here with what appear to be a conversation that's taking place by people who are leaving comments. The whole book is like a blog post that sometimes you're not even meant to read regarding different parts of the world, different corporations, different technologies. So it all reads like it's being written by somebody who's just put a blog in it, that's been hidden away, and then you can take a look at it, you're reading it online, and people, some characters who are recurring throughout the book, are making comments and giving their opinions as to whether what you're reading is true or not. So the whole thing is very empowering to say, all right, so this is the official propaganda, but is it true or not? The character creation is tremendous. Everything is being very well spelled out as to what you can kind of do. The game gives you some suggested specializations for your characters and some archetypes, all of them, which is what I really like, very empowering to the characters and the players. Now, when I've played all the cyberpunk type games in the past, it always felt like you were never going to be able to be strong enough. You were always going to be struggling. This game doesn't do that at all. It tells you it's going to be tough. It really is not going to be easy, but you can get to a point where you can be really, really badass. Within the culture of the game as well, they have got rid of an awful lot of stereotypes. So, for example, they still play with the fact that there is some homophobia within the world, but that mostly doesn't really matter. And if it matters to anybody, you can smash their face. If you like, what happens with this, with the drone jokey archetype, which is really cool. It is very empowering to the female characters and the female players, which is brilliant. I really like that. They even go as far as to creating a pronoun that is gender neutral, nem. So sometimes they will refer to people, when they don't know if who's writing is a man or woman or anything else, they will refer to them as themselves, which is a tremendous, tremendous attention to detail that I really liked. Very, very good layout. The races, yes, you can have different races. You can play an android, you can play a cyborg bidroid, or you can play a Zeborg or anything else, or even a simulacrum, which is pretty cool. And then your occupations, lots of them. And the hindrances, they are going to give you something that, yeah, it's going to stop you a little bit, but it's going to give a little bit more personality to the character as well. So it makes perfect sense to me. Everything comes in little tables as well, which is good. MALMART, that is the main kind of conglomerate that you can buy things from, and you can buy anything from there. It's online, it's some sort of monopoly, and you can buy anything from there. And with anything, we mean anything from weapons to enhancements to cloning abilities and cloning technology. You can buy from there. The description of the corporations is very good because it also gives you, a couple of corporations that create weapons, but each one is going to do a different type of weapon from the other. So it's very, very detailed. As you can tell, there is a lot of it. Now the world, the one thing I'm missing is some sort of chronology as to what happened and why. We know that we are in this world, which is about 100 years in the future, but I'm not entirely sure where all this technology came from, considering that there were a couple of really apocalyptic events beforehand, and the world has been really torn apart, both geographically and politically and economically. And yet there are nations that are very green orientated, there are nations that are very greedy orientated, and the culture of those nations though have been put to practice in the game very nicely. So you can sense there is a sense of Chinese in China, and there is the Greens New Zealander, and the former US that has this American spirit still going on. Very, very cool. The global data net, the internet, has received also some sort of different approach to the whole thing and how it works. And every country is going to receive their own culture, their own descriptions, who are their allies, who are their enemies. And as you can tell, the book is not short of illustrations, and they're very, very cool illustrations, including a map of what the world looks like today, as in today, the today of this world, of course, not now, because that would be, creepy and silly. That is also a lot of the game. As you can see, lots and lots and lots of world information, which is very, very good. And some encrypted info. And if you have what it takes, by all means, do feel free to decrypt, which is great. That's the kind of little details, well, not so little details, that make this game look very, very cool. Now, a few things are didn't get paid enough attention. For example, you get the Chicago sprawl after the world. So why it wasn't together with the portion of the world that covers the United States, why is after South and Central America? I don't get it. I just don't get it. But it's just an organization of the book. There is a ton of info in Chicagoland as to where to play, what you can play, how you can play, the geography, the feel of the place is there. And it gives you the perfect setting to start all your adventures. Of course, you can play in outer space as well. Nothing stops you from that. And here is when you have a little chronology of space exploration. I'd like to have seen that of the whole world. That would have been absolutely brilliant. Lastly, you get a chapter on game mastering. That comes with a couple of adventures as well. And then sadly, the book ends, because you will be left wanting more. The book is not perfect. It has a fair number of editing errors in here. For example, at one point, I can't remember the page, but a whole sentence in brackets saying, I think you should reword this paragraph, is left there. That comes from the proofreader. That's not part of the setting. So there's a little bit of attention to detail that has been missed somewhere. Is it a big deal? It depends how much money you're going to spend on the book. Personally, I don't particularly care. I would like to see those rough edges ironed, but it doesn't detract for what it is, an absolutely fantastic cyberpunk setting that is really immersive, very, very well written, with some absolutely fantastic ideas, really great ideas that will want you to be living 100 years in the future. So, human beings of Gunmetal Games, you've done good by me. I love you very much indeed. And now keep writing more things, please. Thank you. And thank you for watching. If you like this video, please remember to subscribe and to click on the like button so we know that you liked it. And if you have any comments or any ideas or any feedback, by all means do send it our way, and we promise to answer as soon as possible. Until then, thank you very much indeed.